Hello everybody, and welcome back to another MB Heritage Farm video. Today we're going to be talking about elderberry. What you waiting for? Let's go out here to the garden and show you guys how we do it. We're going to be talking specifically about propagating elderberry today, how to grow it from cuttings. It's really easy, guys. Elderberry is a new plant. This is the first time that we've actually messed with elderberry, period. I've never grown it until last year. We got about 6 cuttings from Jewel Small Gardening, our buddy here in North Carolina, and we planted them in different places to find our good spot. And that was the plan. Once we found our best spot, we was going to go ahead and take cuttings from the main plants that actually did really good and get perfect copies of them. So now there's many ways that we do this here on our farm when we're doing any type of bush or tree or anything for that matter. We do incorporate rooting hormone, heat mats, everything that you do start to finish the professional way. But today we're going to show you the easiest way possible to propagate your elderberry, and it's going to be really easy and it works, I promise. We're going to show you what happens with the end results. So basically all you're going to need is a good sharp pair of loppers. Make sure they're really clean, sterile as you can get them on the end. You also want some sterilized or drinking filtered water, and that's pretty much it. We got to get your cuttings, so let's show you guys how we do that. Let's get over to the main garden and go ahead and start taking these elderberry down. Now here is the main elder in question today. This is the one we're going to be taking cuttings from. This thing grew last year somewhere to around 10 foot tall, but if you'll notice, it kind of started out in this crazy pattern. It's kind of flatter on the ground, and it just kind of grew branches out in the star pattern, and it pretty much shaded over our garlic and everything like that. So we're also going to fix that with what we're going to do now. And so I'm just going to explain it to you, and then I'll set up a tripod and let you guys see what we're going to do. But the first thing you want to do is make sure that your elderberry is pretty dormant. You want to make sure it's still sleeping. You don't want a bunch of green leaves on it. You also want to make sure that your nodes here don't have a lot of greenery coming out of it. There's no leaves on the top, and everything looks like it's pretty much gone to sleep. This is in zone 7, and it is February, so this is a perfect time to be doing it. So let's go ahead. I'm going to show you what we do next. We are going to take our loppers and cutters, and we're going to make sure that we leave about 3 to 5 nodes on. We're going to keep them about 3 to 8 inches off the ground. We're going to cut them off with our loppers just under one of these nodes here and keep it level all the way across. And then we're going to show you our next step. Okay guys, that's it. There's nothing to it now. Let's go ahead and take you over to our workshop and show you what the next step is. So that was pretty easy. So I wanted to remind you, once you get your bush cut, the first thing you want to do to find out which one of these limbs are going to be viable for good cuttings is to look at your cut end. Now the best way I can explain it to you to see if you have life is, no matter how woody and hard it is here on the skin, it may feel dead and woody, but you always want to look inside. Now if you can see that green all around inside there, that green color lets me know that this whole area here, as long as the end of this stem does the same thing and looks the same way, then this is going to be great to take our cuttings from. So now that we know what to look for, we're going to take anything that looks gray, brown, really hard. What you want to do is just chunk that, throw it away. That's not going to be good cuttings for you, but you want that nice green inside. And now we're going to take these and we're going to show you guys how we cut them. There is a trick to it. Now I also want to mention, once you get your cuttings this way, you don't want to just throw them out, toss them in a bag, and wait a couple of days before you put them in the ground. You need to go ahead and do that as soon as you get these things cut. The sooner the better. You don't want these things drying out at all. So here we are on the garden and grilling deck, and here is all those limbs that we got off that one elderberry bush. We just planted that thing last year. Like I said, we got them from Joel Small Gardening, and he brought them to us pretty early in the spring, and we went ahead and put them in different locations. So this one here is just a year old. Now a lot of times people's going to tell you to leave your elderberry growing for a couple of years until they get the growth or the height you want, and then propagate. But this 1 year old here, you guys seen, it was just sprawled out. The shape wasn't good for us at all in the garden, and they're pretty resilient. Plus we needed cuttings for next year, so we're pretty much going to try and rush it up as fast as we can. So anyway, if your bush is really small and it don't have anything over 2 foot limbs and things like that on it, let it grow a little more and get bigger. You don't want to rush it too much. They may not come back. So now here on Homestead, we like to use rooting hormones, hormone powder, root powder, cloning gel, whatever works for you. But anyway, most of the time we use willow water. We make that here on the Homestead. If you have a willow tree close by, a weeping willow, and you want to know how to make some of that, it's some of the best all-natural cloning solution that you can get. We love it. Now we are not opposed to using any of those, but what we're going to do today is just show you how to do this the easiest way you can. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, we're just going to be dropping these in some water. Now after you make sure that you have plenty of green, you know, kind of like a smoke ring area, you see that light green, you know it has plenty of life. What you're going to do is you're going to start at the top, and if you have any leaves and you're a little bit further along and you do have some leaves, you want to make sure you trim that top out, and you want to go above that first node. Now we do leave some of these on, but we want to make sure that this right here is not too dead or woody, so we're just going to go about maybe a 1/4 inch above that top. We're going to cut it off. I do see some green in there. I'm not sure if you guys will be able to see it or not. Either way, I'm not sure if you can see that, but we do have some green. So we're going to go ahead and leave that top like that. Now, in some instances when we're doing trees and other bush type things, we'll wax over on the top of that to keep it from drying out. But these elderberries are going to show life so quick that we ain't really worried about them drying out, as long as we go ahead and get them in the water as soon as we cut them. Try to get them pretty much on the same day. All right, so we're going to start from this top. Now that we got our top cut flat, we're going to count 3 nodes from that top. So it's 1, 2, 3 nodes down. And once we do that, we're going to go to the 3rd node, and we're going to go ahead and cut us about 1 inch off, just like that right there. Now you have your 3 nodes on there. Let me set this down. Now we do have our 3 nodes. Remember, the top is cut flat. Now, just so we don't get confused, because sometimes the both ends are the same thickness because we're right in the middle of a limb. So we want to go ahead and remind ourselves which one's the bottom. So we'll go ahead and cut that at, let's say, 45. Now normally from here, we would take a razor or knife, and we'd go ahead and scrape a little bit of that skin off and try to get these roots to grow a little better. But we're not going to do that with this elderberry. And if you guys can see the little dimples all up and down, those little bitty dots is what's going to turn into your roots. The first signs of life you're going to see from these things is these little nodes here are going to shoot out a little bit and turn green, and you're going to have some full adult leaves coming on each one of these nodes. You'll have sets of leaves growing, and then after you see your leaves, you'll start seeing these little divots inside of the bark there that'll start turning into your roots. So remember, the top will be flat and your bottom will be right up under that node, about a 45. Make sure you have 3 or more on there. And all we're going to do, we're going to not shave it, not going to trim it, we're not going to dip it in any rooting hormone. All we're going to do is soak it either in some willow water, but today, for you guys that don't have access to a willow, we're going to show you it's just as easy by using plain good old filtered drinking water. So that's where these are going. I'll go ahead and show you guys a couple more, and then we'll go in the house and we will show you how we're doing these things on our propagation mat. Okay, so here's our top. Okay, so now that we have our elderberry cuttings, let's go ahead and take you into our seed station, which is inside, and show you guys what we do next. So here's what we have left. And the reason why that we kind of left them a little bit longer than 3 inches is because we're going to come at least back up to around right here with some good old compost and a whole bunch of wood chips, mulch, things of that nature, and just fill it all the way out around here. We have a pile down there at the end of the garden, as you can see, and it's probably about a year old, so we'll go ahead and show you how we do that too. But right now, let's go on in the house and get back to these cuttings. All right, everybody, here we are back here in the seed station. We have half of our cuttings, the other half is waiting on us. As you can see, here's our sweet potato slips that seem to be doing really, really good. Won't be long. So anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to take our cuttings. We also have some filtered drinking water and just some plain old glass mason jars. You can use anything you want, guys. You don't have to use glass. I like to use the glass so I can see what's going on with the roots and stuff without having to disturb them and take them out so much. So we're going to go ahead and make sure that we have at least somewhere just under a half in these jars. We want to make sure we cover up that very first node and get up close to the second one. We're going to make sure we take our pointy end, our 45, and put it in the water, and we're going to leave our top obviously up out of the water. Now I'm going to go ahead and show you a reference mark on where my water line is with my thumb. Like I said, almost perfectly half in between those two nodes. You always want to make sure you cover up that very bottom node, and you want to go up almost half to the next one also. So now it really don't matter how many you put together. I'm probably going to bunch up somewhere around 15 or 20 in a jar. I think we have somewhere around 60 to 75. This is just half of them. So what we're going to do is we're going to wait for these things to start popping out with some little green leaves in those nodes and start getting a little bit of foliage on it. And then after that, we're going to check down on the bottom of those stems and we'll start seeing those roots develop. So there you have it, guys. That's all you need to get these elderberry to grow. So now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pull out our heat mat. We have a new type of heat mat, and we're just going to lay it on top of this table, maybe on top of a sheet, and we're going to go ahead and put these jars on top of that heat mat so we can go ahead and get them to think it's summertime and the soil's getting really warm so we can make them grow faster. Okay, everybody, we have our sheet out, we have our heat mat down. We also have our elderberry here on the heat mat, and we just have our elderberry, nothing else really. But you can see that these guys just starting to grow some green leaves. There's little bitty green leaves protruding out some of these nodes here, and if you look really close, you can see some of those white dots, which are root indicators coming through those divots there on those stems at the very bottom. Eventually, they'll look like long white hairs coming out. I'll go ahead and take a few pictures because no matter how hard I try, I can't get my phone to focus on them. But we'll get you some pictures so you guys can see what we're looking at. Okay, everybody, now I want to note that this is only 4 days after dropping these cuttings in the jars of water. And as you can see, we have leaves growing on all these nodes. They're all really green. And then at the base of the stem, you can see these little white dots coming out, all those are roots coming out of those little divots like I explained earlier. So there you go. This is really easy. We will update you when we transplant these things. Thank you for watching. As always, we'll do our best to see you on the next one.